What if optimizing your metabolism was the key to unlocking your best life? Welcome to the Life Possible podcast, where we bring you cutting edge insights, real life transformations, and powerful strategies to help you win the fight against obesity and metabolic disease. Join host Dr. John Barnes as he explores the science and stories of transformational metabolic health. Because when you fuel your body right, you unlock your greatest potential. From leading experts in nutrition and wellness to inspiring success stories, this is your go-to resource for education, motivation, and empowerment on your journey to a healthier, more vibrant life. Your best life isn't just possible, it's within reach. Let's make it happen together. Here's your host, Dr. John Barnes.
Hey, welcome back to the Life Possible podcast, where science, stories, and strategies come together to empower you to lose weight, keep it off, achieve your fitness goals, and live the healthy, vibrant life you are meant to live. Who am I and why am I doing this show? Well, I tell you, I'm your host, Dr. John Barnes. And, there's really no easy way to put it, but about 10 years ago, I found myself in a place I never expected to be. I was fat, sick, and depressed. And what was even worse is I didn't see a way out. You see, years of stress had driven me into overeating and drinking and insulin resistance and obesity and ill health. And I really had no idea what I had done to my metabolism at the time. But that's when I truly believe that God brought me the Ideal Protein Program, a science based ketogenic approach to nutrition that not only transformed my health, but also my professional mission and vision as well to help as many people do the same thing. And so now I'm on a mission with this podcast to bring you some of the world's leading experts in low carb, keto nutrition, metabolic health, lifestyle optimization, along with some real success stories so that you might be able to pursue your own. Well, who do I have for you today? I'm super excited. I always say I'm super excited, but I am. I'm always super excited. Today's guest is Maddison Sutton. She knows firsthand what it's like to juggle a busy life while trying to stay healthy. After 12 years in the corporate world and some deeply personal experiences with chronic illness in her family, she made the leap into holistic health. Now, as a certified integrative health and wellness coach, she's passionate about helping women and moms prevent disease, heal naturally, and create vibrant, healthy lives for themselves and their families. Oh, her message and everything she has to bring is so relevant today. And we're going to be talking to a younger generation today that I'm really excited to be able to connect with. So stop talking, John, and bring her. Where are you, Madison? Hey, there you are.
Hey, John.
How are you today, Madison?
I'm doing really good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's Monday. I think I've kind of gotten through all the Monday morning blues, and now I'm just excited to get this week going. So I tell you what, Madison, you've got all kinds of credentials behind you. You do a lot of things for people in this integrative and holistic way. So I wanted to kind of talk through a little bit about your background. Talk to us first about being a certified integrative health and wellness coach.
Yes. So I have been interested in health and wellness for a really long time. I got my certification in integrative nutrition and wellness when I was still in the corporate space. That was something I started sort of doing part-time as a hobby. And it was really sort of just to help me like further deepen my knowledge of holistic health and wellness and what that really means. I was very, very interested in the actual like physical side of health and wellness. And I really liked getting that more holistic approach. So that has really helped me work with a lot of women on the softer side of health and wellness, more
Okay.
of like the lifestyle changes and stress management, burnout, things like that.
Yeah, yeah, I know that those are near and dear to your heart and part of your personal story, right?
Yes, they very
Yeah.
much are. Yeah.
And so then in addition to that, you also hold the title of functional diagnostics and nutrition practitioner. I'm fascinated by this. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So this came a little bit later. After I left the corporate world, I decided I wanted to understand some of the science behind, like the deeper knowing of why certain people held on to weight or had certain imbalances in their body. And I actually came across FDN when I was struggling with my own health issues.
Okay.
I experienced some pretty severe burnout at the end of my corporate journey. My father was sick with cancer and I knew he was going to pass. And I started having some pretty severe symptoms because of that. I went to a naturopathic doctor and they weren't really able to give me a good answer. So that's when I found FDN and learned a lot about how metabolic issues and imbalance in the body can cause so many of the symptoms that we see that oftentimes result, if not treated, in more chronic health conditions. So
Yeah.
this allows me to look at functional labs alongside, making those lifestyle changes and adjustments with clients. Now I can compare that and really sort of point to where in the body they're actually experiencing these imbalances that are manifesting in those more physical symptoms.
So you're talking about actually like blood tests, blood work, and that kind of thing.
Yes, I mean all kinds. I do a lot of stress and hormone, GI maps, testing if your body is absorbing protein in the correct way, looking at your detox pathways. I really enjoy doing like a metabolic typing diet, trying to understand genetically what is the best way to eat for a certain person. So it's very dependent on each woman that I work with,
Yeah.
but we kind of I try to look at a variety of different things, not just one thing.
Yeah, so it's literally an individualized deep dive into your metabolic health and every aspect.
Absolutely. It's looking at all of the major symptoms that we typically see imbalance that results in those chronic symptoms or issues
Yeah.
that so many people, I mean, too many people are experiencing today.
Yeah, wow. Well, I know that you've got some great messages and you've got almost a crusade, if you will. And you wanted to address the first topic that you wanted to address today was the silent health crisis in young women. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I think that we're seeing chronic health issues and very serious health issues increase in young people across the board. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily just women, but I have kind of gone on this process as I started my health coaching journey, and I did a lot of interviews with a bunch of different women in the corporate space. And as a result of that, I was able to speak to so many of them, which is great, and hear their stories, but almost all of them are suffering from some sort of chronic health condition. And these aren't women that are retired or older. These are women that are in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really scary. And just kind of in my own life and my friends, they're all in their 30s, knowing some of the things that they're personally experiencing. Fertility issues is a massive
Mm,
thing that I'm seeing with women my age. I saw it all through my 20s with my friends that were even trying to, conceive when they were 24, 25, 26.
yeah, yeah.
And I think we're seeing those numbers increase at a very scary rate. And I just really believe so many of our conversations are about reversing something when it's already happened, when our conversation really needs to be about how do we make sure it does not happen in the first place.
Yeah, right? Yeah, well, like you said, that used to be during your 20s and 30s, and now that's becoming too late. I think we're seeing, especially in kids and adolescents, we're seeing things like type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, metabolic problems that, truly used to be reserved for older adults.
Yeah. Yeah. And think there's so many things that are contributing to this, and we have to start combating it more aggressively and start being a lot more intentional about our health. In the older generations, their food, it was much more nutrient dense. The soil that,
Yeah.
100 years ago is not the same soil that we have now that is growing the crops that we are currently consuming. The number of pesticides and artificial ingredients that we're consuming, I think why we are seeing so much of that in younger people and like babies and children is because for a few generations now, that's what we've been consuming. And I think
Mhm.
as a result of that, we are seeing our bodies break down like they should be breaking down, when we're much older. Not that our bodies
Yeah.
really should ever just like completely fall apart. I mean, our bodies are meant to operate well until the last few months of life, and then we might see a decline. But what we're seeing now is systems in our body are just not operating in the way that they should, and I think it is due to the fact that parents do not have the health, like parents are not healthy when they're conceiving, and that's passing on
Wow.
child, and the child is not consuming healthy food. They're consuming, food that is low in nutrient value. They're consuming food that is high in artificial ingredients, and they're not set up good to begin with. And they just can kind of continue on with a poor diet, maybe poor lifestyle. And our bodies just cannot keep up. They cannot function when they're not being fed.
Well, I love that concept, and this is something that I've been reading about and seeing a lot more commonly is the idea that maternal metabolic health passes down to the baby, preconception, conception, and carrying the child as well, and that's setting kids up behind the eight ball already at birth.
It is. I think one of the things that people really need to start considering when they're thinking about conceiving is how are me and my partner, like what is our health right now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I talk to a lot of women that are thinking about getting pregnant, and the first and really only thing on their checklist is, all right, get off of birth control. Like that's the only thing on their checklist. They're like, get off of birth control and then I'll start trying to get pregnant. And, we could probably have an entire conversation on birth control and what that's potentially doing to a woman prior to her wanting to conceive. But there
mm,
needs to be a much larger checklist when we are talking about trying to have a healthy pregnancy and trying to make sure that conceiving is as easy and as healthy and gives your child the best chance as possible. And we really need to be looking at the mom and the dad when we're talking about that. But I have found that in most families, it is the mom that is making all of these health choices. They're the ones
yep,
that are determining this is what we're going to eat for dinner. They're the ones packing lunches. They're the ones that are going to the grocery store. They really set the theme for this is how my family, like, this is what healthy is going to look like for my family. So while it is critical for both partner and mom to be healthy when we're thinking about conceiving, I find that if you can get the mom on board with being healthy and if she starts really taking care of and prioritizing her health early, that has the most massive impact.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, and the other the metabolic fact that I took away from a couple of shows ago, understanding that in fact the mitochondria, right, like the powerhouses of every cell in the body, mitochondrial genetics comes from the mother alone. I found that to be absolutely fascinating. And so, uh, as a mom getting ready to be pregnant, man, we wanna make those mitochondria as healthy as possible. We really wanna do everything, to foster that from the inside out so that as that gets passed down, that the baby has a fighting chance, has a much better chance.
Yeah, that is such a good point. And I think just kind of talking about how women typically eat today. I mean, look at just the past generations. It's been low carb, low fat, low calorie diets. And that is a recipe for poor mitochondrial health. That is how you create unhealthy cells that are starved of nutrition. And women are the group that is most impacted by these diet trends and diet culture, because so many diets are about looking certain way. And obviously, that's really what diets have been about. We want to lose weight, we want to look a certain way. And again, I think we're seeing the impact of that now when it comes to fertility. Years of eating to be skinny rather than years of eating to be healthy is resulting in really poor mitochondrial health.
Yeah, absolutely. When PCOS, the number one reason right now for female infertility in the United States, we know is a direct result of insulin resistance, which again, the majority of our population is suffering from, both men and women, right? And again, just kind of created by this whole low fat, high carb culture that,
Mhm.
fat is bad for you. Don't eat fat in order to lose weight. And it's created this, I think it's really contributed to this trending.
Yeah. I agree. Healthy fats, healthy cholesterol, those are things that are critical for not just hormonal health, but brain health,
Right.
digestive health, cellular health. Um, it's the insulin resistance and blood sugar balance is hand in hand with
Yeah.
hormone health. Like they are so, so key. And it's so important to healthy weight loss. I mean, we're sitting there trying to eat and reduce our calories and reduce our fat, and um, we're directly hurting our hormones when we are doing that. So, and really, we're also hurting our blood sugar. So, those things that we're doing to try to stay skinny, they may work short term, but they have a very negative long term impact on your ability to manage your blood sugar and also conceive.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things that you have written on your outline that we're following here, talk about metabolic prep. What do you kind of feel like goes into that? What categories, what boxes do women need to check when they're metabolically prepping for pregnancy?
Yeah. I think I mean, I'm so glad that you called out the mitochondrial health
Mhm.
aspect of this, because I think eating nutrient dense food is one of the best ways that you can start to prepare for pregnancy and long-term health. Making sure that I like the eating the rainbow concept, making sure that you are eating one fruit or veggie, maybe lean towards veggies of each color every single day, making sure that those more controversial foods, or I like to call them controversial foods, are quality. So make sure your eggs are quality. Make sure your dairy is quality. Make sure your meat is quality. Make sure that the grains that you're ingesting are quality. Really, really trying to make sure that everything that you're putting into your body is nutrient dense. It's not a filler. You're not eating like pastas and breads and, things that don't really provide your body with the right fuel. They're really just filler
Mhm.
foods.
Right.
I truly think they're just like empty fluff. They don't actually create positive energy in your body. They're just kind of something we put on the side to like fill that carb need that we have from like the bad bacteria in our stomach. There's like no need for you to eat those things, in my opinion.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
yeah, you need
Well,
nutrient density.
and you're probably not old enough to remember, but back in my day, there was this term called empty calories.
Mhm.
And empty calories
Yeah.
actually referred to bread, rice, cereal, and pasta. But then somehow somebody decided that the model of healthy human nutrition looked like a pyramid. And at the base of that pyramid, we found bread, rice, cereal, and pasta. So that's, a lot of this is not our fault. A lot of this is the bad programming that we've been getting nutritionally now for the past 40 years or so.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, I remember learning about the food pyramid in school,
Yep.
and I saw something the other day, and it was more of like a circle, and none of the foods at the bottom of the food pyramid were in that new and improved circle. So, a lot has changed. There is a lot more science now to support the way that we should be fueling our bodies. If you go back and actually look at the history of the food pyramid, there was like very little science to actually back.
Right.
So I do think we are moving forward with a lot more information about how to eat correctly for the body. I think what people are struggling with now is there is so much advice out there that they're not sure what to do. I mean, the vegan diet was really trendy for a while. I don't really think that's probably the best if you're trying to conceive, but maybe it is for some people. But that's where the confusion comes in. Like, should I be doing carnivore? Should I be doing vegan? Is it the Mediterranean diet? And I think that making sure that you are getting your information from credible sources.
Mhm.
And to me, I think the credible sources that we used to go to are maybe not who I would actually suggest anymore. I'm not
Yep.
necessarily looking at, big institutions for my health advice, but I am trying to really encourage people to make sure when they're getting their health advice that that person is trying to help them support their long-term health and
Right.
not just short-term weight loss goals.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, yeah. No, it's like like you said, it's the confusion, right? I mean, just literally everybody is talking and everybody is telling you seemingly the opposite information. It's so hard for people.
Yeah.
They really need to find someone that they align with and that works for their body. And I
Yeah.
love this idea, this concept that you do metabolic typing too.
Mhm. Yeah, I love metabolic typing. I think a lot of people like keto is very popular, paleo, which I follow a paleo diet for the most
Right?
part, somewhat
Yep.
similar to keto. I happen to be a person that knows I need more fiber and more of those like vegetables and fruits in my diet. I do well with that. So even as somebody that is fairly knowledgeable in what we should be eating and what should be going in the body, there is, so many people that suggest you should be eating high fat, high protein. And while that is very, very good for a lot of people, that's not necessarily the case for me. Like, I need a little bit more of those veggies in my diet, but I'm still eating a diet that is high in protein and healthy fats. So
Right.
it's more about like
Yeah.
the portions. Metabolic typing is a lot more about the portions. The
Mhm.
concept is still the same: eat whole, real, nutrient dense foods. Metabolic typing is about looking at what portion you need of fat, protein, and those vitamins.
Wow.
And everybody
Wow.
kind of needs a slightly different portion.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Um, Talk to us a little bit about let's move on. And one of your next and biggest messages that I hear you talking about a lot. Um, that affects 20 and 30 somethings, these days just as much as it's affecting older individuals is corporate burnout. What is the metabolic link here in corporate burnout?
Yeah. I first noticed how much corporate burnout was affecting younger people probably in my, I guess, later 20s. I remember being at a wine night with my girlfriends, and they were all sitting around and just absolutely tired, dreading. A lot of them had their laptops open, like we were
Oh
supposed
my
to be
God.
hanging out.
Right, right.
I just was like, none of us even have kids yet. And this is what's happening right now. Like, we are so tired. We are burnout already. We're burnout already, and we don't even have children. We're not even in our 30s. Like, this is a massive issue. And I think this is when this started really kind of clicking for me. And probably the last few years that I was at my company talking with young people, just the same feeling. And I really think this comes from lack of alignment. My generation was told that, you should go to school, you should major in business or marketing, and, you should get a job. Like, everybody kind of followed the exact same playbook. And I think because of that, there are a lot of people that are in careers that they absolutely hate. And I don't think
Mm,
discount that when we talk about why burnout is so prevalent right now. I really think that
right.
is the number one reasons. But if we're talking about from just a health perspective, I think going back to that lack of cellular health, lack of good foundations in health, and a lack of a true understanding of what health looks like is really fueling a lot of that burnout as well. So I think right now what we're seeing is just a horrible combination of people that are unhappy in their jobs.
Yep.
They're not
Yep.
fueling their bodies in the way that they should. I think there's a lot of mental health and anxiety that is coming into play there. I personally loved my job in the corporate space for a very, very long time, but it was a job that required me to travel a lot.
Mm,
I had to socialize a lot, so there was a lot of drinking in there. There was not a lot of sleep, and even though I was eating a pretty good diet, I think I was probably a little bit more concerned with the way that I looked than actually eating for health. And this all came to a head for me when my dad was diagnosed with cancer. I think
yeah. Yeah.
it just the stress, that like last straw, and the years of just not treating my body well because of my career led to just complete burnout. I had pretty severe nervous system issues. I started having a
Mm,
lot of numbness in my hands and my feet. Um, I think what happened to me now that I know, I think I had a
yeah.
severe cortisol crash, and I think my hormones, because of that, were just all over the place. So that ultimately ended up resulting in me leaving my job that I loved because I just could not recover from that burnout.
Yeah. Well, and I think you kind of touched on it early in that discussion there was I think also, especially after the pandemic, that the corporate life has bled. There's not as much demarcation between work and play or work and relaxation. I don't know that there's boundaries anymore. It's not like you're going to a job, coming home from a job, going out with your girls, and going out to the winery and hanging out. They've got their laptops there, like, they've got their laptops on at 2 in the morning. They've got I mean, it's all the time, and you can't even get away from that.
Yeah. Yes, I see this so much with moms, especially.
Yeah.
Like, I think COVID and working from home gives this illusion that, okay, great, now I can do everything. Like, now I can go, I'll have time to go pick up the kids. I'll have time to make dinner because I'm not having to go into the office. But what they're doing, instead of actually creating that space, they're on the phone in the car with their kids
Yep.
picking them up, or they're
Yep.
trying
Yep.
to email while they're cooking dinner. It did not have that positive effect that it could have had. And I was supporting clients in Europe when this all happened. I was on the West Coast. I was in California supporting clients in Europe. So,
What kind of
I
time
feel like
difference is that?
massive one. I was massive
It's like
time
10
difference.
hours, 12 hours?
Yes, I think it's like maybe it's 8 for
Yeah.
8 or 9, depending on where you're at. And so I was waking up at 4 in the morning to get on calls at 5 a.m. because the client was excited. They're like, "Oh, we're virtual. We can, have all these meetings now." And I'm like, "It's 5 a.m. and I have insomnia." And
Right, right.
so that absolutely did not help with the burnout. So,
Yeah,
and then of course I would stay on the computer until 9 at night because why not? Like,
right.
why not? So it's created an unhealthy way to work. And while I love working remote and working at home, and I feel that I have created healthy boundaries around that, you have to really intentionally put in those healthy boundaries.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. I definitely think that that's you have to do that. You have to set some standards and just
Yeah.
say, "Oh, yeah, that after 9 o'clock, I'm out.
Mhm.
Before before 6 a.m., I'm out."
Yes. Oh gosh. I mean, my time window for work is much smaller than it used to be for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Talk to us a little bit about stress and cortisol and the impact that that has on our metabolism. I know it's huge.
It is. And I believe stress is really it's the trigger for everything. And stress does not have to be just mental and emotional. Stress is also physical.
Hmm.
It's the toxins in our food. It's, poor drinking water. It's lack of sleep. And stress of any kind is going to cause your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, to spike. And that's where a lot of people are right now. They've got that high cortisol spike, which can actually give you this false sense of feeling good. It can make you feel good. It's because it's, breaking down the body basically to create energy.
Hmm.
And so I think that's important for everyone to understand. When you are running on fumes and coffee and your body is under stress for an extended period of time, that raised cortisol, while positive in short bursts, is so catabolic. It is
Hmm.
breaking down the body. And that is going to start impacting you wherever your body is weakest first. Um,
Wow.
Yeah, so we talk about genetics, but really genetics it's just like where's your body weak? And as soon as you put stress on the body, that weak link is going to break.
Yeah.
And for a lot of that, or for a lot of us, that's digestion or metabolism.
Okay.
It's hormones, so it kind of depends on the person, but it just starts to wreak havoc on the body.
Wow. What a I love when I learn things on my own show, and you just gave me that. That's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, again, and in the catabolic nature of what's happening there, it's doing it to raise your blood sugar because it's your fight or flight hormone, right? And so again, whether we're staring at the lion and I've got my spear and I need to go into fight or flight, or whether it's a deadline or an email or something, you still have that same stress response. It doesn't have to be physical. It can be mental or emotional, etc. Right?
Yeah, and I guess kind of going back to like how it specifically is going to be impacting your metabolism. Your body, your nervous system really has these two different sides. You have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic,
Mhm.
and only one side is going to be able to be activated at one time. So again, going back to that spiked cortisol, when that stress response is high, the
Yep.
sympathetic nervous system is what's activated. That is your fight, flight, freeze response. And when that is activated, the parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest, is shut down. So your body shuts down the ability to digest food. It shuts down the ability to properly regulate blood sugar, and
Wow.
it
Yeah.
shuts down your body's ability to create other hormones and sex hormones in the way that it needs.
Wow. Wow. So what do we do about it? What I see. I actually I see too on your outline. I'm fascinated by the concept of stress resilience.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that. How can we make ourselves more resilient to stress?
Yeah. I think for most people, we kind of talk about this. It starts with, I think, the physical things with health. It starts with that eating for long-term health, nutrient dense foods. I think the most underrated health thing that you can do is sleep well. Just making
Yeah.
sure, yeah, making sure that your
I
circadian rhythm is as healthy as possible.
and I think, yeah, that sleep is not, valued like it should be in our culture, right? It's go, 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 do, 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 and it's yeah, whatever, you can sleep when you're dead, right? Well, yeah, you might be.
Yes, I think, and I mean, sleep is really the healer of all things. Like it does not, heal one thing specifically, but it heals all things non-specifically.
Yeah,
And so whether you're battling a cold or a like broken ankle, whether you're trying to lose weight, I mean, this is something I have to really talk to my clients a lot about. Yes, diet and exercise, so important when it comes to weight loss. But the other two pillars, one is circadian rhythm and mitochondrial health. Circadian rhythm and mitochondrial health they are tied together very
yeah,
closely. And then that other side is stress. So I really think that those are the big things when we
yep,
talk about creating stress resilience is making sure physically we are moving our body in a way that feels good. We are eating foods that are nutrient dense. We are protecting our cellular health and our circadian rhythm. And then we all have to find a way to manage stress that works for us.
yeah,
And that does look a little bit different for everybody. But for most of the women that I work with, it's stepping away from that perfectionist mindset and
mm,
being okay with slowing down a little bit.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And even when it comes to exercising, right? Exercise is so powerful and can truly, help us with stress relief and et cetera, et cetera. But I think, people get on the treadmill, if you will, and they're exercising at high intensities, too high an intensity to be helping themselves. And it might even actually contribute to burnout. It might contribute to um, their stress, if you will.
It very much does. And what I try to tell people to do is see how you feel 2 to 3 hours after that exercise.
Mm,
Not directly after, because you probably do have, you've got your
yep.
energy flowing, you probably feel pretty good. But measure your energy 2 to 3 hours later. If you are feeling good, like maybe you're a healthy level of tired, but or sore, but if you feel like, wow, I probably can't exercise tomorrow, like that was too much. I am so tired. I really just
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to just lay down or sit on the couch, or I don't feel like I can give much else today. That's probably a good sign that you are pushing yourself too hard for what your body can currently handle.
Yep.
And a lot of women that I test their stress and their hormones, their cortisol is past that peak and it's starting to go down again, which means they've been in this cortisol spike for a really long
Mm,
time and their body can no longer keep up. So all of their hormones are on the ground. Their cortisol is on the ground, their estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all of that is on the ground. And it's just leaving them feeling really depleted.
wow. Wow. So talk to us about redefining self-care in the hustle culture. I love again your phraseology and a lot of the things that I've read that you've written, et cetera. Creative expression and nervous system regulation and joy as metabolic healing tools. That just got me all jazzed up. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. I think, again, with so many women, right now we are trying to check a box. Like, yes, I went to the gym today, box checked. I'm healthy. It's like these things that we think that we're supposed to be doing that are going to lead us where we need to be. But kind of similar to how do you feel 2 to 3 hours after? Like, what is making your cup fill full
Love that.
versus what is actually just a checkbox? And I found that so many women, when I talk to them, they don't really know what creates joy in their life. Like, they're like,
Mm.
what hobbies? What do I
Yes.
don't have
Yes.
anything that I do in my
Right.
spare time. Yeah.
Oh my God. And I talk about this a lot with my clients. You know, stereotypically, men, we've got 2 or 3 or 4 hobbies, right? Like I've got golf, I've got my guitars, I've got like all kinds of things, right? And so I'm coaching women, and I'm like, "Oh, so what are your hobbies?" Right? Like what brings you joy? Like, "Oh, I don't have any. There's no time for that." Right? I got to do all the things. Help
It's
us with that.
it's really sad, and I think it's it's so hard for women because so many of them are moms, their wives, they have full-time jobs, and they have made their life about supporting others,
Yep.
which
Yep.
is, beautiful. And I think it's the way that women are designed. We're selfless in that way, we're caregivers in that way. But you have to remember that you are not going to be able to care for people in the way that they need or show up for work in the way that you need to if you are not first filling your own cup.
Yes. You can't fill others' cups until from an empty cup,
Yeah.
right? Yes, absolutely.
And they'll often say, "Oh, yeah, well, I'll do it like once the kids are back in school,
Right.
or they're going to graduate, and then I'll do this, and then I'll do this." And I kind of want to just say, how do you think that reflects to your children? Like, women are so concerned about, oh, well, I have to take care of my baby, I have to take care of my child, I have to do this, this, and this, and this. I mean, I grew up with a mom that was mentally, she has, some mental health issues. So
Mhm.
as a child, while so much of what she did was for us and it came from a good place, and she would choose to not go do things with friends or do something that she enjoyed because she was helping us, and that felt so selfless to her, and she was doing it all for the right reasons. But as a child, I saw an unhappy mom.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that moms really need to start thinking about. Your children and your husband and your job, they want you to be happy. And I mean, maybe it's a
Right.
different happy, your children and your husband want you to be a certain type of happy, and your job wants you to be a certain type of productive, and they want you to be able to show up as the best version of yourself. So,
Mhm.
what are the things that you can do for you that make you feel good, that make you feel rested, that make you feel full, that make you excited to wake up and go throughout your day, because those are the things that you need to be doing to reduce burnout. Those are the things
Yeah.
that you need to be doing to start building stress resilience and long term health. And
Yeah.
those are things that are not given enough credit, I think, in the health and wellness space.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And creative expression. Like, I think that that's so important, and I talk about that with my clients as well. Anything that stimulates that creative side, whether I've got an older client who's she calls it adult summer camp, which is awesome. She's in a retirement community, and she's like, "Well, I've got watercolors at 10, and I've got Zumba class and I've got this," and she's just having the time of her life now, like with all these creative things that she always wanted to do, right?
Yeah, and I hate that people wait. I
Yeah.
hate that people wait to do that. Um, something simple that me and my partner are doing now is just like ABC dating. We find something that starts with an A, we find something that starts with a B, a C. And I think you can apply that to other areas. And maybe if you're trying to find your creativity again, maybe you need to make an activities list, things that I want to do, call it a bucket list, reasonable things that I can do with my family or with my friends, and start trying to actually go through that list.
Yeah.
Um, Start putting yourself out there in different ways. We get so stuck in our routine that we forget about the things that bring us joy or that light us up. And so, I mean, you have to make that effort, and you have to set aside that time to do the things that bring you joy, and really rediscover the things that bring you joy.
And it doesn't have to be long, just small bits, but on a regular, consistent basis, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think of one thing you can do maybe once a week. Maybe it's calling a loved one, going on a walk with a friend. Maybe it's, saying, "Hey, partner, can you take the kids tonight? I want to go to a yoga class." You
Yeah.
know, it doesn't have to be anything big. I have a client right now. She is recovering from a pretty major surgery, and she loves being creative. She's very into pottery, and because of her surgery, she's not able to do any pottery. So we're in the process of, okay, well, what can you do that's creative that you can actually physically do right now? And she's like, well, I really do like painting.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't do pottery right now, and I know that makes you very sad, but this is something you've also enjoyed. Let's do that for the time being while you can, until you can get back to your pottery.
Yeah. Yeah. Painting, music. Music tends to be another fantastic avenue for people. And maybe it is that you weren't musical as a child, but you've always wanted to be. Take it up now, right? Just little bits. For me, I'll hide away for 15 to 20 minutes in the evening and play guitar by myself. Doesn't have to be for nobody else needs to hear that, but it brings me joy, right? And it takes that nervous system level down, just puts you in a different space.
Absolutely, and I think that I'm really glad that you made that comment of, it doesn't have to be for somebody else.
Right?
Like, none of this is for anybody else, and that's actually kind of the point, is it isn't for somebody else.
Right.
That is what so many women are struggling to do. Like, this is for you. Like,
Right.
you need to create space in your life for yourself. And, that sounds so obvious. Like, of course, it's my life. Like, why wouldn't I do things? But so many people are not doing things for themselves.
Right.
And they're worried about more of that outward appearance. And they're worried about checking the box of, I cooked dinner, or I went to the gym, or I did this hit class. And I'm like, you don't even like that hit class. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
maybe your time would have been spent better going on a walk.
Well, and too, following along the lines of it's just for you. It's not for anybody else. And or I always say it doesn't even have to have meaning. I mean, truly, I like to lump it in the category of what would you consider to be a guilty pleasure? And I kind of feel like that might hit the sweet spot where the dopamine comes out and you're just
Yeah.
because I love this, but maybe my partner hates it, right? I love this. And so therefore it is just for me. And man, it just really makes me, like I said, fills your cup.
Yeah. I mean, for some reason, guilty pleasure, I think of like, I love to take a bath and read. That is not time consuming. It requires no money. It's just
Right.
minutes of, and I can find time to do that.
And it doesn't even need to be a self-help book. It doesn't need to be like literally just brain vacation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you combine those 2 things with the bath and, yeah, just talk about regulating your nervous system, right? Bringing it back down.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Madison with two D's. Thank you so much for being on my show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you were to close us up with one last thought or one last thing that you really like to talk to people about their own health and wellness and advocating for themselves, what might that be?
I think it would be two things. I think the first thing would be start taking care of your health as soon as possible. Um, think about investing in your health like you invest in your financial future.
Mm,
I really think starting as young as possible is the best way to ensure that you have the healthiest, happiest life that you can have. Health is so directly tied with happiness.
yep.
So I think really just starting as soon as possible. And then I think like another lens to that is find what works for you. It's so easy to get absorbed into what's trendy or what other people are
Mhm.
doing. And health only helps you if it is intentional and if it is in alignment with what feels right for you.
Wow. Yeah. I actually think that is a great place for you to drop the mic. Thank you again so much, Madison. I'm going to take you backstage. I'll land this plane and wrap up the show and hang out for me. Be right back there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a wonderful show we had today. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I hope that if you know somebody that might need to connect with, especially everything talking about number one, preconception, metabolic health, and wellness, but also the stress and burnout messaging is just so super important that people need to hear. So please like, share, subscribe, do all the things for the show, and like I always say, keep reaching for your own life possible.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Life Possible podcast, where we unlock the power of metabolic health to fuel your best life. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to like, subscribe, and download the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if this message resonated with you, share it to someone who needs to hear it. Let's spread the power of life possible together. For more inspiration, insights, and exclusive content, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thanks for tuning in. Keep striving, keep thriving, and remember, your best life is within reach.